Hello and welcome. In this video we're going to be looking at Game Cog from NullSave. This asset allows you to save and load games, localize your text, also has a built-in menu system and a node-based system called QuickFlow that assists with some programmatic efforts. So let's jump right into the demo and then we will take a look at how everything is hooked up. So to begin with here, we can see the menu system, which responds to mouse, keyboard, touch, joysticks. Let's start off with the settings. So here we can modify the sound levels with keyboard or also with mouse. You can cancel out of menus, and in this case we bound that to the escape key, so we'll escape and see that the settings go back to previous since we canceled. Now we'll just go ahead and bring these settings down. And we'll hit save, and now we can see that those persist. We'll also take a look. Right here is the localization. We can go to French or Spanish, and these items also persist automatically, so we'll just quit the game right now and go back in, and we can see that things are still in Spanish. We'll switch back to English. We also have the ability to put up windows. For the demo, they're not stylized very much, but they're easily replaced with your own styling. And this acts as a modal, so you'll see that the menu system doesn't respond to keyboard or mouse input while this is open. And let's jump into the demo proper. Quick load scene here. We have that actually set to take a minimum time of 3 seconds. That can be changed, and we'll have a look at that after the demo real quick. So here's a bit of dialogue that pops up. This is based off QuickFlow and some save file information. So we've got these cubes here that respond to this fireball and some physics that happen. We can also generate new cubes. This shows off the saving and loading of items that are spawned at runtime and aren't part of the normal scene. So we'll hit F5 there, and then F6 to reload. You can see that the music switches back, the spawned items are there, the physics is applied. Down here in the console you can see some debug information. You can turn this on and off with the simple checkbox. So we'll hit the menu here and go back to the main, and we can see that we've also attached a screenshot to that. That's another just checkbox setting in Game Cog. We have these two new menu options that have appeared because we have a save file. So what we're going to do is we'll continue real quick just so that we can see it loading from the start. There we go. And then we'll go back to the main menu and do a new game. Now we can see that we've got a different message than the first time. And this is because we've got 3 saved places. We've got temporary data, which is not saved at all and only persists while you're playing. We've got the game save, which is unique per play. And we have the master save, which is of course optional, but can be a master level for all players and all games. So we'll just go back to the main menu again here real quick, and now we'll look at load, where we can see we've got the options for both of the games. We've got the time played and started. This is header data, so that you can load in just the header of your file to put up data here. We have 3 things by default, which is the start time, the played time, and the screenshot. You can customize the header in any way you want, and it's a very simple matter to do. So now that we've had a look at all of this, let's take a look at how everything is hooked up. So to begin with, we've got the Game Cog. This is the main component, and it will follow you from scene to scene, so you only have to have one. You can place one in each scene if you like, but it will be replaced with whatever one comes first. In the demo prefab, we've got these sound sources embedded underneath it. Those will also follow you and have save targets so that we can persist the music that's playing, the volume, whether or not it's looped, etc. And those are controlled here in Game Cog. You give it a sound mixer as well as some sources. The reason that we have ambient and ambient transition as well as music and music transition is to give you the ability to crossfade between the two as scene changes or as combat cues. You can also load scenes in multiple ways. You can use a loading scene, as we do. You can load directly to your next scene using an interface, so keep your current scene and pop up a UI, or you can load directly to the next scene without any interface whatsoever. For managers, we've got input managers, and the reason Game Cog has yet another input manager, you don't have to use it, but it sort of simplifies things for you. The reason for this is you can replace the manager. So, for example, we've got a Unity input manager. We also have a Rewired input manager that you can install by installing the small package here. And that way, if you do change from one input source to another anywhere during your development cycle, you don't have to rewrite all of that code to go from, input.get button to rewire.get input button or whatever. You can just keep pointing at Game Cog, and the input manager will take care of that for you. Localization manager is how we take care of the text localization here. And so if you just look at this guy who's built in, you supply a relative path to where you want your resources. So this starts underneath any resource folder. In this case, I've put it right underneath the examples resource. You can add as many languages as you want. We'll add one real quick here. We'll say German. And then you can see we've got this new text box. So you'll have one text box for each language, and you'll address these by an entry ID. So you can just add in an entry, and they'll appear down here. So we can see here settings in our different languages, main menu, etc. Now, if you create something accidentally, you can delete it. You can do add entry, and then you can just click this delete entry here. Now, if you click a language or create a language accidentally, what you'll do is you'll go to your relative path and you'll just delete that folder. And these items are all just spawned as text files. So if you have a third party doing your localization for you, you can just import those directly into your asset and they will show up for the localization manager. There's also a Modal Manager, which takes care of popping up those different modals that we showed in the demo. You can expand on this or replace it or customize it as you wish. For save load, we've got your data paths and default file names. This player tag here is provided for any reason where you might need to grab the player programmatically. If you have inventory cog or stats cog installed, this will also bring up inventory and stats saving and loading, and it will use that to differentiate your player's inventory versus NPCs. You can define whether or not to have a screenshot and these other items in your header data, as well as the default scene to load if it's a brand new save file. Quick flow global is you can drag and drop quick flows in here that can be globally addressed by their name. And a quick flow, that's the node-based system. I'll show it here. So this is how we ran that dialog at the beginning of a game. So we came in and loaded the master data and checked whether or not this condition was true. And if it was, we jumped to the very first game. And if it wasn't, we then checked the save data for the game itself to see whether or not that had been activated and branched off to a different one. You can do a lot of things here. You can save data, you can mess with audio branching, casing, do modals, even generate random values. This is based on the Xnode system. It has been fully customized and has different class names, namespaces, and metafiles, so it won't interfere if you are already using Xnode somewhere else. But you can look at the Xnode documentation if you want to add in your own nodes. Everything else will appear the same except for some class names, which you'll be able to look at for these items. So the next item to look at here is the level cog. Now this is unique per level, and this is how we do certain things like you can set whether or not your cursor is locked right here. You can do transitions. So as soon as the scene starts, if there's a transition, it'll take care of it. In this case, we're fading in this clip. The end volume will be 0.5. We're going to loop it, and it's going to take 5 seconds to get from 0 up to 0.5. We're also hiding this little prompt for you to remind you to put these items in your build settings at awake time. And let's jump into the loading scene real quick here as well. So this is very simple. We have just a level load client, and you can customize this however you wish. You can have rotating images, you can have a video file, a mini playable, whatever you like. This is only just to grab the data, and that's also real simple to either customize or replace as well if you wish. And finally, we'll go over into Playground, and we can see once again we've got the Game Cog here, we've got Level Cog. And there's another transition as well, because I think over here, if we look at loading, we don't change songs there. So, but we could have gone into level cog here and changed it to a different one. And again, it's the same thing. We bring it up to 0.5% or 0.5, and we take 3 seconds in this case to do it. And in this one, this is also where we load that quick flow. So you could have loaded it directly like we do here, or you could have loaded it by name if you had it either in your local level cog or up in Game Cog. Now for the save target, which is probably the biggest draw of Game Cog, is being able to save and load quickly with little to no coding. So by default, Game Cog can save most Unity components all on its own, and the exact components are listed in the documentation, but things like transform, animators, rigid bodies, colliders, those can all be saved. And then you can also set your game ID, so this is how it references and finds the object. You can generate that ID at start, which you would want to do if it's something that's spawned, right, so that it's unique each time. You can recreate it, you can save whether or not it's been destroyed, and as we see right here, you can debug the output. So for scripts, it can also save custom scripts, and let's look over at our main character for that as well. So sometimes there are going to be items that you don't need to save. For example, in this one, we don't need to save the controller, we don't need to save the action, because those aren't going to change. However, there are certain things where, and let's look back at the camera for that. So in scripts, by default, it can only save things that are publicly visible to the editor. So properties and private variables can't be saved unless you use an extension. And we're going to look at that real quick to sort of round out this tutorial. So what we've done here is we've added this, first of all, we've derived from basic camera, which is included in all of our demos. And then we just added the custom save target. And all that does is you need a save and a load. And you just write out and read in your data. And we've made that really easy as well. You can see this write float, write string packet, etc. And these are extensions that are provided for you. So if we go and have a look at those, we can see all of the basic sort of types are there for you. You can do bools and colors and ints, etc. Without having to do the conversions. So, if we look at, and you can see that, that gets converted into a byte for, we packetize strings, so we put out the length and then the strings so that can be easily read. And that's how you do a custom save target for it. It's really simple and quick so that you can save and load exactly what you want. And also, if you're working with a third-party tool, you can create a new class like we did with this basic camera savable and just derive from the third party's class and add in the save target. That way, if the package gets updated or if there are fixes to it, you don't have to worry about rewriting your code. You just have it available here. So that's a look at Game Cog and what it can do. I hope that you enjoy this asset. Thank you.